So I just randomly Googled Formula 1 news this morning because I needed something to talk about. Let's be honest, I'm absolutely Ivan mullered after last night's Potato Nation Sunday League race. It was a good 90 minutes of frustration, but while I was doing a bit of the old Googlage, I found an article written by my old mates The Race, and specifically Scott Mitchell, who started talking about the hurdles that Andretti is now facing to get itself on the Formula 1 grid, and how it's getting opposition from, two sources mainly, and it's also got allies in two places as well. One of them obvious, one of them not so obvious. Now, this video is going to be probably mostly talking head. I will try and put some stuff in the edit, but, just whack me on in the background and do whatever it is you kids do. And if you're wondering about the old redness here, it's allergy season. I'm trying to get an appointment with the doctors to sort it out, but yes, I know, I look like something that belongs on a snooker table. So Mercedes and Red Bull, and the other teams as well, but it's only a problem when Mercedes and Red Bull pipe up, are operating on the argument that another team means a smaller share of the commercial rights pot and the constructors' prize money pots as well. Now, some of you are going to be thinking, what? The global energy drink and the big car company with infinite money are worried about money? But the teams like Haas, Williams and Alfa Romeo will be looking at it and trying to find some way of objecting to it, because those teams will be depending on that commercial revenue and prize money from the constructors' pots more than the likes of Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari, because Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari already have hugely marketable drivers and existing big brands to market. Those three don't need the money, but Williams and Haas, for instance, do need the money. Remember back to the days when teams like Minardi scored just 1 point and then acted like they just won the championship? That wasn't because they'd actually scored a top 6 finish as the points was in those days, but because that single point could have meant the difference between no money and a few million quid come the end of the season when it came to the constructors' prize money payouts. And those prize money payouts only go to the top 10 teams. But because Mercedes and Red Bull have mentioned it, they're the ones copping all of the stick for it. But even teams like Haas and Williams are just protecting their own interests. What Red Bull wants Liberty Media to do is to sacrifice some of its profits to top that prize pool back up. So instead of it dropping from 15 million down to 10 million, Liberty Media puts their own money in and tops it back up to 15 million or whatever it would be. It's not distribute the wealth so long as it's not my team's wealth, as someone put it in an online comment section. It's more the teams want Liberty to sacrifice the money and not the teams. Haas also has another reason to protect its interests, being that it is currently the only American team on the grid. Andretti is a much more powerful name. A man with that name won the World Championship and is the godfather of racing in American motorsport. And any motorsport lover, irrespective of whether it's cars or bikes you prefer, will have heard of Mario Andretti. Given Haas has less commercial appeal and has had its little tiffs with the Mazepin family and also Rich Energy in the past, Haas will be worried at a new American team coming in with potentially big American brands behind it coming in and being able to spend better. Another hurdle that Andretti is running into here is that Formula 1 now currently acts like a franchise system. There are 10 teams locked in and no more, at least for the foreseeable future, but that could change thanks to the interest from Porsche and Audi. Andretti was previously looking to buy Alfa Romeo, but that fell through, so now the only way in is to get a new team on the grid for the low price of just 200 million. And Christian Horner said to Sky Sports during Miami Grand Prix weekend that it makes total logical sense to say that the 10 teams or the 10 franchises have an intrinsic value and you dilute that by increasing the number. Make of that statement what you will. Toto Wolff, meanwhile, questions what additional value Andretti would bring. Yes, they've got the name, but a name will only get you so far. No results on track, and those sponsors they've pulled in will pull out. Okay, now let's look at the allies that Andretti has got here. The first is an obvious one. That's Zak Brown at McLaren. These two have been mates for a while and are actually business partners as Walkinshaw Andretti United, the Australian V8 supercar team. That's a joint venture between Ryan Walkinshaw, who is Tom's son, Michael Andretti, and Zak Brown, who runs United Autosports while also being the team principal at McLaren. And Brown actually came out and said that any team trying to block Andretti's entry onto the grid is just being selfish. But as Scott wrote in his article, Brown is also being selfish. And as Scott also pointed out here in his article, and I didn't think about this, is because Brown has got an interest in Colton Herta and wants to bring him to McLaren, maybe as a swap for Daniel Ricciardo, who knows. And actually, Andretti is supposedly going to be using an all-American driver lineup with a car built in the United States, Indianapolis to be precise. And you'd have to wonder if that's something that's viable. We've seen an all-Japanese lineup at Super Aguri, an all-Brazilian lineup at 40, an all-German lineup at Mercedes, but American drivers, with the exceptions of Phil Hill and Mario Andretti, haven't really been properly successful. Colton is a talent, but will it translate? And to be fair, you do get a lot of IndyCar snobs going on about how much better the IndyCar product is, or how much better the racing is, or how much better the drivers are in some cases. If you put Colton Herta or Patricio O'Ward in those two cars and have them go around racing, then maybe you get some people watching because it's people they know and things like that. You might get some conversions going on in the background. Some IndyCar snobs might become Formula 1 fans as well. And it goes the other way as well. Imagine if Daniel Ricciardo jacked it all in and went to IndyCar and did all of that. You'd probably get a lot of Formula 1 fans tuning into IndyCar because of Daniel Ricciardo. And again, who knows? You might get some converts along the way. So don't think that I'm acting like this snobbery is just a IndyCar thing. It's it goes both ways. I mean, look at Alonso when he failed to qualify for Indy. And while Brown has shown support for his mate and wants to help get his mate on the grid, he's still got a vested interest in one of his mate's drivers, and he could also potentially set up a working relationship between McLaren and Andretti in a similar fashion to how Ferrari and Haas have got theirs, or how Tom Walkinshaw set up technical partnerships between Benetton and, well, pretty much everybody else. The other people on the side of Andretti is Alpine, because there has been a deal set up in principle but not actually signed for Andretti to take Renault engines if they get onto the grid, which is good for Renault because as it stands they are the only engine manufacturer on the grid without a customer engine contract. They only supply Alpine, and having a customer engine deal will see Renault gain a little on the financial front and also on the development front, when they can actually develop it. Again, it's both sides protecting their own interests. The teams towards the back of the grid have been operating on survival mode since the end of 2019. You would think that Liberty Media would be in talks with the FIA to, give them the nudge along so that a second American team could get onto the grid, and that the FIA should be welcoming another team onto the grid as well to, improve the show and also have a healthy looking grid. You've also got a lot of the older fans who saw the days of 22, 24, even 26 cars on the grid that would love to get their nostalgia senses tingling, and more cars going at it on track would be better for the overall look of the sport, right? Especially if Andretti can hit the ground running. However, it does seem a little bit mad that the FIA and Liberty seem to be more interested in getting Audi and Porsche potentially into Formula 1 than Andretti. But either way, the addition of a new team, should Porsche and Audi want to field one instead of buying in, rests on the existing teams voting unanimously to allow it to happen. Something to do with the Concord Agreement. Some teams have asked what Andretti has done to earn its place on the grid, but, if he's prepared to foot that $200 million entry fee, then he should be allowed to be on the grid. He's shown the willing just by finding $200 million. But at the same time, if he turns up and the car's an absolute dog like the Haas was last season, he's wasted $200 million and then probably another $150 million on top of that. So this is where I hand things over to you, the viewers. Would you want to see Andretti on the grid, or is everything just fine with the 20 cars and 10 teams that we have now? Leave any thoughts down in the description, not in the description, in the comment section underneath this video, and get a discussion going. It is, after all, why I do these opinion pieces. And if you did enjoy this video, then do give it a like, because apparently it does stuff to the algorithm and makes it do algorithmy things. And if you're not already, get subscribed and also get that bell on so you never miss out on a future video. Massive thanks as ever to the good folk of Patreon for their continued support, and if you want to help support me on a more personal level so I can buy images and all that good stuff, then links to Patreon as well as to Discord and my socials will be in the description box. Actually, in the description box, not the comment section underneath. Oops. So until next time, I've been Aidan Millward. I'm going to call my doctor now to get this sorted out, and I'll see you all soon for another video. Goodbye.